Sonic Poison is a Finnish, uh, let's call them a grindcore band with death metal and thrash metal influences and some crust hardcore punk influences as well. That all kind of ties together, and it all does fall under grindcore. And Eruption is basically them. They're just making good on everything they'd sort of promised on previous demos, and more so the first demo, harsh demonstration, which was it came out back in 2016. I hadn't heard of this band until Combat Grind came out, which was a little bit more of a crust punk EP. It felt different than the demo when I went back and listened to it. But this uh, this leans into what I would consider the best and kind of my favorite side of grindcore is when everyone had sort of heard Scum and they wanted to go further with it. And it was an easy thing to run with if you were in a crossover band, if you were in a thrash band, is play fast and freak out. So a lot of really good bands came from that, like Filthy Christians, Righteous Pigs, and obviously Terrorizer and Nausea. So I'm not saying that this sounds exactly like that, but it is cut from the same cloth. It really does emphasize hardcore punk influences. It thrashes in the way that thrashcore did back in the late 80s. And it's kind of my favorite stuff for when I was transitioning from like a hardcore punk fan to crossover to thrash metal and all that. Thrash was kind of my real introduction to metal. So this really it checks a box for that time period and feels like a late 80s grindcore record while also incorporating death metal influences. And I think nothing too stylized or pointing towards any one scene. It's more that whatever fits with their sort of violent thrashcore or grindcore feeling stuff. So short songs, they get right to the point. My favorite are always the ones that sort of hit that sort of hardcore punk feeling. So others might prefer the more riff oriented, slower songs. But overall, if you know what I mean by like a band like Impulse Manslaughter or something like that, through a death metal context, uh, this will probably be your thing. Um, and I think they did a really fine job of not only making good on what they had done in the past, but sort of improving all those prior songs, rethinking very slightly some of the arrangements, um, and not there was no disparity between old and new material, even though some of that material is quite old. All of it fits together very well in this seamless, I think, like 22-minute record. So it's not too demanding. It's just it blazes past, and if you want, you could like I could sit there for like an hour and listen to it just because there's so much detail in there. But if your favorite band isn't like Cryptic Slaughter or whatever, maybe you won't get it. But I certainly did, and I enjoyed it. So that gets a high recommendation for me. And yeah, again, just one of the better releases from January, just for sheer energy. And when you do get down to the details, they put a lot into this one. And so I found it pretty redeeming. So there you go.